Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the second of 6 Entrepreneur in Residence seminars offered here at the Hinton Learning Theater. Patricia Quintero is an entrepreneur with over 15 years of experience working in large and small firms in Canada, the United States, England, and Colombia. She is the founder of Patricia Quintero Interiors, a residential interior design company, and Create Inc. Marketing, a marketing consulting service company. Toronto Public Library gratefully acknowledges these Indigenous nations for their guardianship of this land. Would also like to remind and reaffirm, as Torontonians and Canadians, our accountability to these Indigenous nations and to all Indigenous peoples and communities living in Toronto. This land is also part of the Dish with One Spoon territory, a treaty between the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Anishinaabeg, and allied nations to peaceably share and care for this land, its waters, and all of the biodiversities in the Great Lakes region. All those who come to live and work here are responsible for honoring this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect.
And we're going to be talking about shaping your business, your concept from the idea to MVP. I am going to be basing all my conversation on the Eric Ries books, The Lean Startup. There are 54 copies available here at the library. A lot of them are on loan, so anyway, but I know you can put a hold. Check it out. This is really, I personally wanted to leave you all, like the series of seminars that I've been putting together, the idea is to take you through the whole entrepreneurship journey as we started last week. They are self-contained, but I really wanted to pick up like one framework, one concept that will allow you to validate the experience or validate the concept that you want to move forward. So I picked this one. I really think it'll be of great value to all of you. And yeah, there's a lot of additional information. I mean, obviously there's a book, but there's also some great videos on YouTube with examples. And it's a very big movement. You can also, as you say, check out the hashtag Lean Startup, because there's a lot happening around there. There's a lot of entrepreneurs connecting through the Lean Startup movement. And that can also be of good value to many of you if you want to like tap onto those resources and tap onto some others, because there's a lot of networking and a lot of meetups and a lot of conversations happening into getting that idea into actually like real life. So I thought I'll start with that. So how do you unleash the power of your idea? I mean, we've always talked about love what you do and do what you love. But I also always caution people that you don't want to also be too in love with that idea, in the sense that ideas need to be free-flowing. Ideas really, we want to fall in love with the vision of what we want to accomplish, with the vision of what we want to take on from 0 to 1. But at the same time, we need to allow ourselves to have something that is flexible and ever-changing until we know and we're certain that this concept is what's actually going to be successful in the real market and the real life. The reality is that most startups fail. And a lot of these failures, I truly believe, and it's been, loads of research been happening in the background, where it is definitely certain that a lot of those failures could have been avoided if they had been executed in a much better way. So yeah, 90% of startups fail. A lot of the times, I mean, this is obviously very related to the fact that we're navigating on chartered waters. We don't really know what's coming our way. Startups, that's the big challenge. They don't have data around it. They're usually like an innovating concept of something that we want to take to life, but it's not like say a well-established company can rely on data that they have already like stored from previous product launches or from performance of their, well, if it's a car or if it's a fridge or if it's like any other good or service, they have managed to be able to approach the customers and gather some information that's going to give them the know-how to keep moving forward. But when we're launching something that's completely new, that's not known in the market, we really have like no certainty or no information on what to rely on, except many of like the assumptions that we're making that things are going to go one way or the other. So founders believe in their idea and they struggle to accept when things are going wrong. Social pressure. It is very hard to publicly admit that we have failed. So the challenge is, as I said before, many of the founders tend to like you have this concept that you want to bring to life. You put together a team, you accumulate resources, you get like, I don't know, a loan, you mortgage your house, you break your savings bank, and you start working on something that at some point you start feeling like it's not going the right way. But it is so hard a lot of the time for founders to accept that this is not the right way or the right move forward. And you know, the worst thing is that they keep moving forward with it without actually like taking the necessary measures to make sure that, you know, tweak it or steer it in a different direction to make it something that's successful and viable. So that really mounts up to one of the big challenges why 90% of startups fail. So as I said, we keep going, trying to change an outcome that won't change. And it is not easy to admit and share that things are not going to go according to plan. And I think I said it the last time, and I'm going to say it again. Failure is a big part of being an entrepreneur. I think that we cannot be afraid of steering, of changing direction, and of really deciding that what we had envisioned in a certain way at the beginning is not necessarily like viable, or it's not necessarily as accepted in the market as we thought it will be. And we can't be afraid of just moving in a different direction. So according to data by CBC Insight, the number one reason for failure cited by 42% of the poll startups are not successful because the product that they were coming or creating, this concept that they thought was amazing, was in reality there was no market for it. So as I said, we tend to believe that this is amazing and it's going to be great, and I've seen it in the past where you're talking to a lot of founders or creators, and they really truly believe in this amazing solution. But once it rolls out in the market, it sort of tanks. So think about it. Many startups build things that people do not want. But why are you want to found that the product that you build is not going to be well received in the market? We have, by generations, been focused very much so on being very efficient, on being very productive, on maximizing our resources. But the reality is that even if we achieve all of our deadlines, we build it on time, we build something that's efficient, we build it on budget, there's not even point of having reached that level if it's not going to be accepted by the market. Like we've wasted all of our resources. So think about how much money, time, energy, most important, morale for your team could have been like save. I mean, you can't say the morale, but you can't. It's very hard later to build up that morale, to bring that confidence back, especially if you, as a founder, you are leading a team, and then when things don't work the right way, it's gonna be very hard to bring things back to where you were originally and start fresh again. That trust has been sort of breached and it's not there. So I think it is important for us to really try to find a better way than just, historically what the plan was, we built together this amazing business plan where we allocate everything we need and we sort of think of this very big vision. We make all these assumptions and then we sort of go with a plan that usually what we've done is we put in into it everything we need. Like, we need a big warehouse, we need a big truck, we need a production line, and this all adds up. Like, because we want to deliver this very, very own vision and or experience. But the reality is that if that is a very high, like, capital intensive investment, what if we can flip things around and not wait to invest all that, not wait till we get to this situation where things don't go the right way? And what if there's a way where we can distill it and break it, still keep our vision? So we cannot, we don't want to compromise our vision. We don't want to compromise what we want to achieve. However, but find a different way, like change our strategy into how to actually, we can go to market or have a route to market. So why wait for things to fail? What can be done before? Why wait so much time and resources to build something that's going to be going to waste? So there's the Lean Startup, the method. The foundation is in 5 principles. The first one is entrepreneurs are everything. I mean, it's not just for someone who wants to start a company, but the Lean Startup movement considers that a startup is any product or service that wants to be launched under conditions of uncertainty. So think about it, like large companies that want to develop new products, like individuals that have like a creation or an invention that want to bring to life. It really is in all sorts of traits within society. So they really see entrepreneurship as a very large scope. The second one is that entrepreneurship is management. Once we take on the duty and the responsibility of launching a business, we are going to be having to dedicate our time not just to do that little special product that we love or that we really believe in, but we're now going to be having to manage other resources. We have to manage people. We have to deliver a culture. We need to manage finance and accounting, operations, supply, logistics. So we are actually getting ourselves into like a much bigger picture of that original ability or dream to just creating a product. We know there's a lot that's entangled within that same vision. And then, so how can we do this? Validated learning. So the build, measure, learn, which is the loop or the cycle that the Lean Startup movement focuses on, starts with validating learning. What does this mean? It's breaking our product, our task, the process of building things into small experiments that allow us to create something that is simple, that we can bring to the market and gather information, connect with our clients, connect with the target market, and then get real insight, document, and see if this is what people really want. It can be very simple. It doesn't need to be mean necessarily like cheap, but very something that gives the individuals or users the idea of what this product or service is going to do, and then allows us to gain feedback from them in terms of, are they gonna, is it gonna be accepted? And most importantly, like, we need to document that. So we build something, we measure the performance, and we learn, and then we tweak, make any small changes, and it could be like minor, small incremental changes that allow us to optimize our end product. So basically not going to market like on our first shot, but doing like small incremental changes to the product so we can actually eventually have the one that's going to allow us to monetize it in the best way. And innovation accounting, basically, which is the data gathering process. So how do we start? Again, as I said before, let's try to avoid complex launch plans based on assumptions. The traditional, the historical business plan has always been based on many assumptions, many perceptions. It's highly biased, particularly because the founders write it and we believe in the idea, and then we truly think it's going to materialize. But then that tend to fail. So let's build something that allows us to make constant adjustments to the original plan with the build, measure, learn feedback loop. So the product is going to change through an optimization, and the strategy can change too, which is going to be like pivoting. That is a very popular concept for the lean startup, which basically is once you reach a point where you realize that the direction that you were taking is not the optimal, then you need to consider making a change. It could be a change in the market, it could be a change in your audience, it could be a change in the actual product or the experience. So with the information you are bringing back from clients, you are going to be able to get to a product that is optimal. So this really, I mean, overall, I remember when I was in school, in elementary, and we talk about the scientific method where you start with a hypothesis, you went to you did your own little experiment, you gather the data, you analyze it, and then you sort of presented a report back. It's very similar in terms of that we need to learn what elements of our strategy are working and which ones are not going to help our goals. So what we do is, it's small experiments. We sort of take the foundation, the basis of our vision, break it down into small little ideas, and we build something that allows us to show the customer how our product is going to work. And as I said, we employ validated learning, which is a rigorous method that demonstrates progress under conditions of extreme uncertainty. And then we create those experiments for customers to try the product. The whole goal is to build something that the customer wants through that validated learning. It doesn't happen overnight. And it's very important that we are very aware of our vision, because we need to formulate that original hypothesis right? We need to really understand what is it that we want that we believe in, and how is it that we want to gather that back from the client. And then that will allow us to really understand what parts of what our original vision is worth pursuing and which one we probably need to adjust. So the experiments. Experimentation is guided by the startup vision, and the goal is to build something that is sustainable around that vision, and the data gathered is much more accurate than the market research. So yeah, definitely, once you're talking to clients, you can spend hours in databases, you can read a lot of articles. We can do a lot of things within our office, our desk, our computer, that allows us to sort of put in paper what we want to achieve, but nothing is going to give us more insight than if we're actually going out and talking to clients, talking to potential customers, understanding, even sometimes it might be even worth, if even without a product in your hand, just go out and see how they use the products, how do they live, how do they function, and that would allow us to understand how to better design a process or design a product and create. So, build, measure, and learn. What we want to do is find the fastest way to get through this loop in order to bring as much customer feedback back to us. This is going to be, is going to impact, is highly determined by the team that we have, by the culture that we're having within the organization, by how well and organized we are, by the tools that we have created to, we need to be very organized when we're talking about accounting. Like, we really need to be able to find ways to arrange all the data and be able to distill it and read it. And this is, we're going to go through a few of these loops. It's not like we go and we do something, come back, and then we're done. I mean, ideally, like, our product is going to be changing over and over. So we want to be able to get in through this cycle as soon as we can, and then be able to loop around it as fast as we can. So as I say, we want to go out there, connect with your target customers, and meet them, know them, how they function, how they work, what they do, where they're going to go, what are they going to do with their product. I mean, do they see what we're wanting to create in the same way that we actually see that? So startups need extensive contact with the potential customers so they can understand them, so they can get out there and really present them with the idea and what they want to do. Challenges that we're going to find out. Some of us, because we can have legal challenges, so I find it's very important that you can connect with some legal lawyer if you have if your idea is very very innovative, very if you think you're going to require to trademark designs, drawings, intellectual property, anything that you might want to protect, you definitely want to search, get the right information in the right place, so you can actually have the necessary measures before you actually go out there and expose yourself. There's always fear of competition, but I think that if we're building something that is really new and radical, we need to feel confident that competition, if we have a small team, usually small teams are able to move in a much faster way. If we have the right resources in the right place, we should not be afraid of a very large organization because a lot of the times what happens with very large organizations, they're not able to catch up with teams that are moving really fast. So, they have a lot of approval processes. They have a very set strategy that's already set in one direction, and it's going to be hard for them to move and steer in the other one. So this is something that we need to be mindful of, and obviously when we're doing our research, we're going to try to understand who the players out there are, what they're doing, and how they are actually behaving. But I think overall, before we go, we have to be very confident of what we're presenting. I mean, it is our product, it is our idea, it is what we believe in and our vision, and I think it's important for us to put our best foot forward, and in order to be able to maximize that. Branding. At the early stages of a minimum viable product, we really have not, we have a concept, but we have not put the resources into building a brand, building the right channels, identifying the minimum viable products that I've actually seen in the past are incredibly simple. I will probably say they're not the nicest looking, because a lot of them tend to be, I'll say, very rudimentary, very, very basic. But that's the whole point. That as long as the person that's grabbing and using it, ideally you can actually sit with the person and understand. You're going to be talking to what we call your early adopters, which is the crowd that truly believes in you, that truly that that you can tap on right at the beginning, because they're going to be, as I say, the people that are lining up at the Apple store the night before the iPhone launches, because those are the early adopters. It's the people that actually think, this is so cool, I need to have it, I need to get my hands on. So if you try to, within your audience, tap onto them, they're not going to care if you have the right brand or not. They're going to fall in love with the product or with the idea, and they're going to be willing to give you as much of their time into how this can actually, how you can actually make it better, or how it could actually work better. The only thing, caveat, don't go to your mom, your dad, or your immediate family. They're always going to be a bit biased. It's nice to always get their input, but yeah, try to go to what you consider to be real customers that is going to give you the right insight. And most importantly, it's very important for you to manage team morale. As I said before, set the expectations right, because it's very hard to get it right up front. So, you need to, as a leader within your team, and your team could be 2 people, could be 3 people. You could have a team of 10 or 20. It really depends. But in the end, it doesn't matter. You are in charge. People are going to be looking at you for answers, and keeping the morale of that team in the right place, it's going to be throughout this whole process, is going to be very important. So try to keep them engaged. Try to show them the benefit of getting the right insight from the audience, from the public. If there's something technical that some specific individual design, make sure that the entire team is getting is sharing the load. If one person was in charge of designing something specific, and that area in particular is not working, it is important that you ensure that that person doesn't feel that's pulling the team down. So, as a leader, you're going to have to be checking on all the particular individuals, but overall, it is very important that you keep them upbeat and excited with what's happening, and most importantly, the benefits and the potential outcome of what's going to come from this retroactive feedback process. How are you going to make the decision? So as I say, in the end, you're going to decide, are you going to continue the direction you were doing, or are you going to pivot and make a strategic move that's going to change the original direction of your project? So yes, use that MVP to gather as much data as you can. Be very organized in how you're going to allocate or keep the data within the team, and then implement those micro changes to optimize the product and to move from one idea to the other. It doesn't need to be huge, but I think small incremental changes that eventually allow you to measure and to feel how the customer is going to optimize or gain, how are you going to actually monetize or how the product, how is it going to be used. Think about all the different areas that you want to get proper insight from. Not only this to be about the quality of the product, the reliability of the product, but how are you going to actually monetize the idea, monetize the product, how is it going to be used. So try to think from all the different angles, and as I say, use that MVP to gather as much data as possible, and then decide if you're going to pivot or persevere. A pivot is not necessarily is a change in strategy, but without changing your vision. So you're not going to compromise what you believe the final outcome should be. It really is how things are being done, whether it be internally in the team, whether it be for the product, or how the customer is actually being approached. Because remember, the overall end goal, no matter we can produce the most beautiful product in the world, if it's not going to be used, if it's not going to be bought, if it's not going to be downloaded, it doesn't matter how nice it is. It doesn't matter how beautiful the branding it is. It doesn't matter. It needs to convert. And by conversion, I mean it is to be bought by the user. So different gathering tools that I've used, and I thought I'll put a little list that might be of help. I'm not endorsing any of these in particular. I just think that they are very useful. They can be, most of these are free and available out there. And I thought that it'll be of great help. So you want to do surveys, you can just Google how to survey tools, but SurveyMonkey is really great. It's very dynamic. You can do a lot of, there's a percentage or a big chunk that can be for free, and then there's another one that you can pay if you want to do something more sophisticated. It's a great way. Also, it keeps your data really neat and organized, so very easy to read, very easy to follow in terms of feedback. So you meet with a client, you give them the stuff, and then come up with some 3 or 4 or 10 questions. It really depends, up to you, that you want to send them, and make sure that you can get them to answer that. Google Forms, again, another great way that's free to keep your information very organized. You can build a very simple website to show your experience, to show what is it that you want to do. whether it be real or not. I think, I mean, last week I put the example of Zappos, which is today the biggest online shoe company in the U.S. When it really started, the guy did like a very simple website with 5-6 different pictures of shoes, and all he wanted to prove was, are people ready to buy shoes online? He had this idea that it was going to be a great business. The reality is he had not one pair of shoe in stock. He didn't have a warehouse. He didn't have any of these. If you had to done like a traditional business plan, you would have come with all these crazy things that you needed. You need like, okay, the warehouse, and you need like 200,000 different styles. He had zero. And people were like putting the order online. What he'll do is he pick up the phone, call the store that had the shoe, he'll go and buy it and bring it back. He'll pack it and ship it. And in that way, that was his MVP. That's how he built the concept. That's what he was able to prove. His vision was, are people ready to buy shoes online? That's all he needed to prove before he did the very big investment. And he truly believes that was like fundamental. Dropbox. I mean, I don't know if any of you use Dropbox. There's some great little videos on YouTube. They're called, I just Google MVP examples, and you get a lot of them. But basically, Dropbox was such a complex idea originally, and the owner, eventually, he did like a 3-minute video of himself narrating and telling step by step. He's like, if I had wanted to build, because it was something that had to work together, it's the network effect. Like, many people had to be connected. He had to build all these platforms and servers and had like server to server connected. So the information could replicate and show clearly the concept he wanted to explain. He said, I would have never gotten the funding to even get to that stage. So what he did is he built like a very minute prototype, and then he did like a 3-minute video where he explained how it worked. And then eventually he said that's what got him the funding he needed to actually start the company. So it is very, very simple ideas like that. I mean, as I say, website builders, you can build a free website at Wix, at Squarespace. There's Weebly, Shopify. It's great for e-commerce, very user-friendly, very easy to use, all of them. If you already have a website but you want to like prove something new, you can just hook a new landing page just for that. What was it? There's actually the author, like he actually said they eventually make it, but he said the first product they came up with were 6 months of development of a full team, thousands and thousands of lines of code that eventually went nowhere because when they launch, nobody downloaded the product. As he said, if I had all I really needed was a landing page with a button that said download now, and that page it had to say, this is what I think, this is what we're trying to do, this is where he had the very specific product. But he's like, truth is, nobody downloaded the actual product when it was done. They eventually had to scrap it and do it again. But if all I had done was a simple landing page with a big download button, and I was able to prove that nobody downloaded, that would have said a lot to me right up front. So why waste 6 months of team resources? He's like, it was heartbreaking. I mean, not only the money invested, but he's like, my goal was to deliver the best product possible, and I did. Because the product was beautifully designed, it was beautifully coded, it was greatly done. But then, what's the point if nobody ever actually used it? So, and then email marketing. I mean, you can actually send like great information to your clients, see if they're going to reply, drive them to your website or drive into like a different platform, and try to connect. And I think that some of these are great ways for you to get going. There's obviously a lot more depending on your specific needs. There's a lot that you can do with MailChimp, and there's a lot that you can do with Constant Contact, and there's other email marketing platforms out there. But there's also like a marketing automation tools that you can do. So there's a lot of things that you can actually do in a very inexpensive way to prove that the concept that you're trying to deliver is going to be actually of use to the end users. So once you've gathered all of that, you really want to focus on how are you actually going to evolve and grow that sort of, eventually you're gonna reach to a product that's highly optimized, and that you are at this point even more convinced that this is what the client wants. At this point, you can actually tell, whether it be the bank or investors or your family or something, people really want these, and you have data to prove it. You have, you can say, I've done 100 trials, 200 trials, 400 trials, and everybody really wants to get this going. And you'll have something that's way much more substantial for a business case. So once this product gets rolling, how are you actually going to get it out there, or get it to go to get your clients to convert? So number one, word of mouth. I mean, really, if people see the use, if people really enjoy it, if the experience is positive, if there's an actual benefit for it, they're gonna, one person's gonna tell the other person, they're gonna talk to their friends or family. That's very connected to the actual product usage, where clients, if they have a positive experience, they're actually gonna go on to somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And that's how actually things go viral, by the experience. And everybody wants to have something that goes viral, but it is not that easy. But definitely, if you've really thought things out in the right way, if you actually put the effort to create something that's great, I think you have really big chances that that's going to be the case. There's paid advertising that we are going to talk a lot about that next week when we do a lot of marketing and brand and voice. But that at this point, you have to decide if you have the resources to actually spend in this type of advertising, whether it be digital, whether it be traditional, depending trade shows. Flea markets, it really depends on what's the right fit for the product you're trying to produce. And repeat purchases. Hopefully it is something that allows to have recurring clients come back. So, if they had a positive product usage experience, the chances is that they're gonna come back and take advantage of your product again. And it keeps going. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, we've all heard that many companies, it's not like a 3 month, 6 months. I mean, we're talking about 2-3 years. Again, but it depends. If it's something that's so revolutionary and it wants to, it has a very positive product usage experience, you're looking at different timelines. But you have to be patient. Create loads of content, tap onto resources like social media, tap onto influential people that people that actually can pass the message around, want to try the product, and get that traction going to increase the exposure of the product in the market. And last, have the right team. I mean, you need to have a team that's accountable, that is from every aspect, that the product that they're building is reliable, that they're committed to the outcome, that they're committed to what's going to be done, that the processes that you're putting in place are going to be adequate, that are going to actually allow you to get to the next phase, to get that loop going, the feedback, build something that's good, bring the information back to the company, make the change, the processes, the necessary processes, changes in the process, build a culture that's internally that allows for things to actually move fast, build an organization that adapts and is as adaptable and fast as the challenges that they're facing. We're in a process, in a times where everything changes and moves really fast, there's definitely a very big advantage by being first into the market, by being the first ones out there. So let's build a team that definitely has this in mind, that's agile, that knows what they're doing. So hire the right people, get the right people on board. Make sure that the skills are complementary to your skills. Build a culture of collaboration internally, and make sure that if you've done all these and you have the right people and you have the right team and you're all committed to actually making these a reality, I think you're going to be very happy with your success. It is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you to say the product is going to be available for 6 months. Please leave us your information and we're going to send it back. I mean, I think at this point, what you want to test is that people are they really willing to move forward with the idea? I mean, is this something that you can that they will actually be willing to pursue? Or say if it's going to be a paid, you can maybe say, if you're like, okay, usually say if it's a digital product, you usually have three different price points. Okay, I'm going to have the basic features for $5 a month, that's the bronze, the gold product for $10 a month, and then the platinum that has every feature in the world for $15. I mean, you can actually maybe even do that and say, which one would you be more interested? And then you can actually say, and once people click that, you can say, thank you very much for your input. This is please give us your information. As soon as the product is ready, we're gonna be sending to you. And you obviously need to follow up, keep that information in a good spot. As soon as you have your first demo, say, you sign up with us. I mean, just make it super. You have to be super customer friendly, but also very down to earth. And I think that, as I say, sometimes we think that we're gonna sort of put this website or page out there and we're gonna get, it'll be all, if you get 100,000 download clicks in the first 48 hours, you definitely are into something, and that'll be amazing. But the truth is that it not necessarily always happens like that. It tends to be smaller circles, where for something like that, I'll probably suggest that you first tap onto with one of the incubators in the city, where you can run your project, and then eventually they will present you to the VCs. And then, by this point, you are coached. First of all, you have a solid project and background, but also a solid project put together. But most importantly, at this point, you've also been coached, and you have a clear understanding of what resources you have, what's the actual potential, what's the actual valuation of the company, because it's all depend on the valuation. If the companies believe that's going to be 2 times, 3 times, 10 times the fold, that's sort of they have very high expectations on what the return's going to be, and the idea that you put together needs to be able to deliver that.
Is there a way to,
definitely, I think that the value, you need to understand the value of your product and who's that going to benefit. So when we were talking about that with your product. And then try to match it. Not only, chances are that your product is not only going to be to a specific, targeted to a very specific, I'll say, audience. So say that your target is millennials, or it could be baby boomers. I'm just talking about a generic product. But then you say, okay, but I wanna, I'm in Toronto and I'm downtown, so I'm gonna target people that are close by that I can talk to. So I'm just gonna focus in the GTA or in Toronto. So then you start closing your loop and your gap. Eventually, it might be that, ideally that original target, what we talked, as I said before, that's your early adopters. Then there's something called, I talked last week about the book called Surviving the Chasm, Crossing the Chasm, where it's basically your challenge as an entrepreneur is going to be eventually to move from that early adopter close group to mainstream, in order to actually achieve that growth where you can actually scale. Now, ideally, you want to choose an audience and a target originally that has the power to attract that sort of the next generation of customers that you have, so that they can have like some sort of connection or interrelation between them, that they say that they are aspirational, that they are more like so something that individuals, I'm assuming that they were something that individuals that can inspire others to sort of follow them and do exactly, and replicate the behavior so you can actually get that traction going. It'll be like easier than if you can probably choose a very specific niche that might not be very inspiring for many. And then it might be harder for example, I was working with somebody and we had it was a very specific product. The universe of audiences could have been very diverse. I mean, we're talking about kids with certain learning disability. We were talking about truck drivers. We're talking about coders and IT developers. I mean, we're talking about like it was very different. The product was really suitable for any of those. So in reality, you could have started with either, and you would have been able to gather like valuable insight that would have allowed you to modify and improve your product. But in our particular case, we chose one in specific because we believe they were closer to a different second and third tier demographics that would allow us to eventually like tap onto like a bigger sales market. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, it doesn't mean that you only want to have one target. The chances that you're going to probably have to choose, and probably for you to target that specific audience, you are actually going to probably modify the product in certain ways that are going to maybe make it very specific for that. But that doesn't mean that down the road you can eventually do like a second, have like another version of the product that's going to target another audience. But we do want to always think what comes after this early adopter group that I have with me. You need to nail the audience first and understand their needs. And we'll talk about again. I mean, in order, because you have to have that customer in mind to define and then build the solution that they need. Because if you start with your idea, that's what I said like originally, and then you say this is gonna be revolutionary, say to the barrier-free environments, but you forget to talk to individuals that have the needs for that. I mean, you're probably gonna end up designing something that is not gonna achieve the right, satisfy the right customer. And that happens. I mean, I think Steve Jobs said it many times. We were building something. I think or the original Steve Jobs, to your Apple example, they were trying to beat Mac. I mean, they were trying to be Macintosh, IBM, but not necessarily they were building something with a customer in mind. Once they decided to go, actually, I think they were very smart because they decided to just work with designers and think. Embed within the product the functionality that designers really needed, which the nice fonts, the colors, like make sure that the images were really solid, that all the specific programs for designers, the Adobes and the core, all the AutoCAD and all this stuff will run properly in their things. Then they went into something, and that's what triggered and made people. But the product originally was for designers, and their audience was not very big. Eventually, the usage of Mac, expanded. So as I say, you need to start with the customer in mind and understand what is it that they need, and eventually, then you'll evolve.
In the context of first to market product, I was wondering if the strategy of creating a video to present your idea, your plan, if it's an innovative product, is adapted to this type of case.
I mean, the video is a tool. Your strategy, you've got it defined, right? And you have your vision and you have your strategy. But the video, in reality, is just a tool that you're gonna use to convey the functionality and what the product does and how you want to do it. I did the Dropbox example because I thought it's actually highly detailed in the book, but it basically says how a 3-minute video was able to change the course. The company was not going to take off, and that allowed them to access the funding that they needed. So you can do it in many different ways. Video is just like a tool that you think that you might find it's something helpful. This is how I want for what I'm going to pursue. So you can do a video, you can do a small website, you can do an app. If it's like something it might be like, I've seen, like, for example, where for individuals people that are coming, let's say, with like a wearable device or like something, you build up a small prototype. It's not going to be like the nice end product that you put in the box, but it's something that you can actually give to a user and say, give it to me in 24 hours or in 48 hours or in 1 week, and let me know what you think of A, B, and C. And then that's valuable feedback that comes back to you. If you're building, like, I don't know, a bakery, and you kind of like, you're going to have to be making some of the product, if it's like a special gluten-free, paleo, whatever, like, you're going to end up distributing some of your products to understand, is this something that people will eat, or is it worth it? So as I said, the video is a tool. You can do it in many different ways.
As Patricia mentioned, there are upcoming programs. You can find all that information in those booklets right there, the pamphlets. So feel free to pick it up. There are also golf pencils there if you need a pencil to fill out the survey form. Also, don't forget that we have a small business network here at the Toronto Public Library, specifically at our branch, where you can network with other entrepreneurs, just like today. And we have book a librarian sessions for market research, trend analysis, and database searching. Okay, thank you so much.